Here we go.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. But there's something wrong with you. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in the mind. Driving you mad. Take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I'm your huckleberry.
All right. I might get it figured out here eventually. Welcome, everyone. See, Super Dave 44. Good to see you, brother. Um, kind of wondering, can you hear me okay? um, it's supposed to be coming through. The sound is. Um, welcome, April. Busy scissoring. Wanted to show my support. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for showing up. All right. Thank you, Super Dave. Well, I think we may happen to. Thank you, April. I think we may finish the letter this evening, but as of right now, I'm sort of by myself, waiting on the host. But he'll be by in just a moment. But we might be finishing up this letter tonight and starting a new series. Um, but the thing is the next series is going to be pretty short. A friend of mine wants to share something about. I don't want to give too much of it away, but uh, I've heard this study before on the death, burial, and the resurrection of our Messiah, and I gotta say, it's extremely good. But he said he needed about a month to get it all put together and everything, and I'm actually really looking forward to that. And I'll keep y'all posted as to when it might begin or might start. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing well, and nothing really to talk about on my end this week. But I do see that Dave just joined us. Let's see. Welcome, Dave.
Shalom.
And I hope everybody in the chat or on YouTube can hear Dave as well. And if so, he might need just a moment, but not a whole lot's happened this week. But I did have I guess, an idea given to me. And I always test these ideas. It's like this wasn't my idea; it was given to me. But I did start a study on comparing the miracles of Yah. I thank y'all very much for letting me know about the 5x5. But anyway, start just looking at the comparison between the miracles that the Messiah did and compare them to something in Revelation, whether it be the seals, whether it be the trumpets, whether it be the vials, it could even be the marriage supper. Um, but I think there's a connection there, and I just started a study on that. Pretty interesting. But I am looking for maybe um, an idea of something somebody else has done too. Um, if anybody else has ever looked into that type of a topic, um, be pretty cool to check it out. Um, but anyway, Dave, I don't know if you need a few minutes still. Did did you want to go ahead and you said you made a mark the last time, so did you want to?
Whenever it's good for you, Anthony. Yeah, I have a mark. So
All right, and just to we left off where we were showing where all of the Ten Commandments were mentioned many times in the New Testament, and I think we got up to about the fourth commandment, didn't we?
no, we went through all of them.
We did go through. Okay, we did go through all of them. Cool.
That's what took the most amount of time was going through all that. But it's all there.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I do have a question, and I kind of mentioned this at the beginning of the show. Um, about about how much more of this letter do we have to cover, and do you think we might could get it covered like within the month?
Oh yeah. So we're almost finished with the second page, and then after that, there's just one more page.
Oh, okay. So cool. That might line up pretty good because Chris is putting together something as well, and I'm kind of hoping he gets done with that about the same time we get done with this. You know what I mean? I'm hoping it ends up that way, but we'll just have to see how that
That'd be
goes.
awesome. That'd be real awesome.
I think so. I think it would be. Well, where are we starting at tonight in Galatians, maybe I should say? Or have we covered the whole
No, so
book?
I don't know if we've covered all of Galatians because in the second page she refers back to Galatians. They're kind of all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's done by design too. I think it's done just trying to possibly throw someone off the trail.
Like the next scripture is I don't even understand why they're just kind of like when we ended the last scripture was in Hebrews 8:13, and it's like you almost have to you just read a couple more verses above and you see that the law is written on our heart. So I don't see how you can even use that, but the next scripture is going to be in Romans. And it's again, I think it's in Romans 7, which we already covered parts of Romans 7. But I figured I was just going to read the little snippet that she put in here, and then we would read Romans 7 and part of it and see what they're going over.
I like.
So I could start reading. I do too, and I don't see how it's. I mean, I guess we got to read the train of thought here. So I guess I could just read that little paragraph, and then we could read because it's only one scripture that they have in the paragraph. And it says, "We've been released from the law and they quote Romans 7:1-6. Paul uses an illustration to explain the release from the Mosaic law, expressed by Jewish Christians. A wife is bound to her husband as long as he lives, but if her husband dies, her situation changes. Her marriage to her husband is no longer valid, and she is free to marry another. And it says this change in her situation is similar to the change a Christian experiences when he died with reference to sin. So I say we read that Romans 7, and that they were, and I say they because I think this is my mom's, elders, pastors, whatever you want to call them, telling her to write this the way that it's written. So they were quoting Romans 7:1 verses 1-6. So I'll look that up to read.
You want me to read it right quick? I'm there.
Yeah, if you want to, go for it. Yeah.
All right. It says, "Or do you not know, brethren? For I speak." Now this is in parentheses. For I speak to those who know the law, that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives. Question mark. For the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband. Oh, you done read this, didn't you?
I thought we read it earlier, but I mean, like I said, that this is what they're quoting in their thing, so it's kind of like, okay, let's go over it.
Yeah. Oh, I thought. Okay. Well, I thought you had just read it, but I'll continue reading though.
No, the last scripture we read was Hebrews 8, 13.
Okay, I got you. All right. Well, verse 2 then. My bad. It says, "For the woman who
That's
has
fine.
for the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he lives. But if the husband dies, she is released from the law of her husband. So then if well, that's pretty heavy right there, verse 2. So then if while her husband lives, she marries another man, she will be called an adulteress. But if her husband dies, she is free from the law, so that she is no adulteress, though she has married another man. Therefore, my brethren, you also have become dead to the law through the body of Christ, that you may be married to another, even to him who was raised from the dead, that we should bear fruit to Yahweh. For we were in the flesh, when we were in the flesh, the passions of sins which were aroused by the law, were at work in our members to bear fruit to death. But now we have been delivered from the law, having died to what we were, held by, so that we should serve in the newness of the Spirit and not in the oldness of the letter.
And they purposely don't want you to keep reading because, of course, we did read the other part of Romans 7. We just never read the first part of it. We read all the end part where we know that in the end he's talking that the law is not done away with, and that he's obeying and doing the law. I mean, in fact, in verse 7, he says, we wouldn't know what lust was if we didn't know what the law was.
Well, verse 2, in my opinion, is extremely heavy. It says, "For the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he lives." Has Yah ever died? So if we bound ourselves, if we marry ourselves to following the Most High, then the only way that this law is ever going to be done away with is if the Most High dies, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, even in verse 1, it says that the law has dominion over man as long as he lives. So when we die, we're not under the law because we're dead. And I would agree. Yeah, as long as we're living and as long as Yah's the Most High lives, which he doesn't die, there's no way he can. So
Hmm. Well, I can see how the rest of that can be taken out of context. But like you say, if they missed that verse 1 or even verse 2, which I would say that verse 2 would be a little more trickier to catch, but if they miss that, I mean, of course it's not going to make sense. And then, like you said, stop there. Don't read verse 7. Don't read the rest of it, you know?
and what I think Paul is talking about a lot here. I mean, yes, this whole marriage thing. What I don't think people are understanding is that I believe he's going also talking about. This is just my perception. That he's not calling for if, like, let's say you have a brother and he doesn't have a kid with his wife, and then he passes away, that you would then marry that wife and give an heir to him, so that there's an inheritance, because the land all has to go to someone. And so at this moment in time, I believe that they're not even practicing this, and pretty soon Jerusalem's going to fall to Rome in the future, and it's going to be all destroyed. And I think Paul's basically setting the groundwork for the fact that we don't have to practice that part of the law,
Right. Um, I
because
do. There's a
there's nothing to inherit.
right. I thought April made a pretty good statement here in the chat, dealing with verse 1 and 2 of Romans 7. At least I'm pretty sure that's the one she's referring to. It says, that is why Yeshua had to die, because then Israel is a widow and he can then remarry her. Otherwise, he's breaking his own law. And I agree. That it would be like, it would be adultery if he hadn't of. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I've heard people bring that up before. So I would say that is a good mindset for sure, and a good thought process behind it.
Hmm. Well,
I think it's funny how, like we talked about, they're man, I forget what Damon, we were talking about something about how people just basically want to hinge their whole doctrine on a couple verses, and then they don't want to go after any other scriptures. So it's like wish I had the terminology he used, because it was quite funny.
um, I'll have to hear it. I can't place it. I may have heard it before, but I can't place it.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not that witty. I can't remember. He'll come in. I'll ask him.
Yeah.
I really don't have any scriptures to kind of go against what they're talking about here. I don't, I just don't perceive the way that, like I said, I think they just need to go and read the rest of Romans 7. She the next scripture she's going to be going into is Romans 6, and then she goes back to Romans 7 again. So this is going to be kind of interesting. So I can read what she writes to you guys, and then we can go read the parts in Romans 6 and the parts in Romans 7. She just requotes one of the ones we already read. So that's what one in Romans 7. So it says, so she's going off Romans 6, and it's 2, either through 11 or 2 and 11. But it says, the Jewish Christians were made dead to the law through the body of Christ, which provided a ransom, allowing them to become another that is to come to belong to Christ. And then she quotes Romans 7:4, which we already read. Paul explains, now she's going to go into Galatians 3:13, that Christ purchased us and releasing us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse instead of us. Kind of wish woman of ours here, because I think that whole curse that she's been studying from the beginning, as I think that's what is at play with that curse. But let's read the Romans 6:2.
I'd like to read verse 1 in there as well.
Yeah, go for it.
It says, "What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Certainly not. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it?" I could see where they would be taking that out of context, because I probably did for a very long time myself. This is pretty serious, though.
Oh,
Uh-oh, I think we lost you there for a second. Uh-oh, Dave, did you lose internet? It sounds like it. Well, as it's saying, certainly not.
what?
Oh, I think we lost you there for a moment. It broke up for a minute, and then,
No, I just couldn't hear you. Yeah, it was roboting. I didn't want to jump in and say something dumb.
huh?
I would agree. I would agree. The first part, shall we continue in sin?
Well, right. Well, if we,
If dead to sin, then that means, that we would be following the law. And that comes down to people just not understanding what sin means.
yeah, that's true. Now, when it comes to that, when we die to sin, we shouldn't ever go back to it, because that would be borderline blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. And so that's why I'm saying that Romans 6:2 is difficult to understand, but it's serious. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it? And that's referring to eternal life. But anyway,
Yeah. I mean, even in 6:11 it says, because that's the other one she's putting there. Likewise, reckon ye also yourself to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto Elohim through Yeshua Messiah. So, and I would say read verse 12. Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that ye shall obey it in the lust thereof. And then to me, it's like, they need to just keep reading their scriptures and not just picking and cherry picking. If you go to read verse 15 and 6:15, Anthony.
What then? Shall we sin because we are not under law, but under grace? Certainly not. Want me to keep reading? It says, do you
I
not
mean, if you
know?
want to.
All right, do you not know that to whom you present yourselves slaves to obey, you you are that one's slave whom you obey, whether of sin to death or of obedience to righteousness. And welcome. Is that light?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, brother, it's been a long time, but yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I know. It's been a it's been a long time.
Well, how have you been, brother?
Um, I've been good. Just like working a lot, but good. Today, today I asked my manager that if I could have a week off because of Passover, right, and unleavened bread. And this guy is he's a Christian, and he was just like laughing at me. he he didn't want to give. He wanted me to work a full week. Um, so maybe I have to quit my job. Yeah.
Well,
But how are you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing well, doing pretty well, and like you, working a lot, but just trying to kind of get things in order so I can move forward.
Yeah, yeah. Getting things in order. It's very important right now, especially since like how everything's moving around the earth. And it, like if it was me, I would be like, well, I know I'm not like a super strong believer anymore, but like um sort of I was losing my faith a little bit, but not I'm not there yet, you know. But I have a strong feeling that this Passover it's kinda important, kinda. Uh, so I have to make my stand of either I stay with my job or I quit my job, like because they refuse to give me days off during Passover. But
Well, we do have to kind of abide by the laws of the land when it comes to that, and whenever we do get a job, we put somebody as our master, our worldly masters. We have to go by what they say, but being that they laughed about it, I lose a lot of respect for people like that. But depending on how they
Yeah,
laugh, maybe um, it it may not be worth continuing to try to like talk them into it or whatever. I don't know though. My boss he don't let me off like that either.
oh yeah, like what do you do in your situation? Like,
Well, unfortunately, we kind of it's out of our hands in a way. We're basically a slave to them.
yeah,
I try to
yeah,
share these things with. Go ahead, brother.
no, you go ahead. Sorry, Anthony.
Well, I was just gonna say I try to share these things with my other employees and with my boss and different people around, but it's just like, well, pastor at church says otherwise. So, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I mean, what can you do? I also want to welcome one from the North Star State and Lion. I believe that's you. And if anybody else joined, and Dave, I hope you got your finger on where we were at there.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Well, I guess they don't want to unmute, but yeah, just so everybody knows, we are live on YouTube, and you're not obligated to say anything, but um, did you say something, uh, Oscar?
No, it's all good. That way I don't say certain things, you know.
I got you. I got you. Well,
Yeah, like
since you
YouTube,
have a bit of
because of YouTube.
it right, well, since you haven't been around for a little while there, what we've been doing is uh, Dave's mom wrote him a letter showing, or showing what her view of the New Testament, saying that the Torah has been done away with, basically, and and I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth, but we've been kind of going over that letter and going comparing their scriptures against what all the rest of the scriptures are saying. You might enjoy it. We were in what where was we at? Romans 6:11.
Yeah, we did Roman. Yep, and then the next one she quoted was Romans 7:4 again, but I don't think we need to reread that. But then she went into Galatians 3:13, which I have pulled up, and I was going to read it.
All right.
And it says, Messiah has redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is every one that hangs on a tree.
Well,
And to me, You go for it, brother.
No. You go ahead, please. I
No. You go for it.
Well, I don't want to step on your toes because I know you was about to say something, but um, that he took away the curse of the law, and I kind of feel like that if anybody views the law of Yah as a curse to begin with, then they probably ain't gonna. They probably shouldn't try to keep it anyway, if they think that it's a curse. But I mean, didn't we read like a bunch of times where it says it's a blessing?
Yes, we did. We did do that in one of the when we went over the Psalms 1 and a bunch of scriptures where in one of the earlier videos. To me, what they're not understanding is that this curse is basically Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy 28, where you get blessed if you follow the law and you get cursed if you don't. So I believe that this curse is he's making it so that we can come back into covenant with the Most High by his sacrifice. And also I would. That's why I wish a woman of valor was here, because her research on basically the beginning curses in Genesis, which I know you know really good, Anthony, where basically that's where man's cursed to die, and he's cursed, working the land, and the woman is cursed with childbirth pains, and I don't think I think he took that curse, but I don't think it's completely. I don't think it's, how do I put this? He paid the ransom for it, but it hasn't been totally fulfilled on our part yet. Does that make any sense, or am I speaking nonsense, or not speaking clearly? I guess.
Well, in sort of like another way of seeing it is that we still die in this physical reality, right? Same thing with like the flowers they still have thorns, and we have to work as men in order to have money and feed our families or ourselves. Yeah, women go through birth pains still. But to me, I feel like the course of the law will be more like the actual death, um, of dying in the spiritual realm, of not being close to the Father or to the Son. Um, but by believing in the Son, yeah, we're liberated from that curse of being abstained from Him and from His Son. But we still die in this physical reality. No one can escape. No one can escape that death. And I don't know if that, like, I haven't fully read the Bible. But I'm trying to remember verses, and I don't know if that is why it's written in Revelation. I think it's in Revelation that the second death had no power over them. Uh, as to, yeah, we all die as humans because of Adam. We all die, but in Jesus we are made alive. Something like that. I think it's in Corinthians. Um, but we will not taste the second death. Uh, but those who don't believe might taste that, and that might be the full curse of the law. And also, I just want to say one more thing. The law is not a curse. It's like how Anthony and Enoch were saying. It is a blessing, and yeah, the curses are written in Deuteronomy 28. But it says the curse of the law, not that the law is a curse. The curse of the law, which, in my opinion, uh, it's the actual death, death itself. Uh, but I don't know if I reinforce your argument or maybe not. I hope
Yeah,
it helped.
yeah, I think you made a really good point. And yeah, I'm glad you brought that out, the curse of the law. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what was really funny when you were speaking, I just remembered in my one of my nightly Bible readings, um, Psalms 50:16. Um, it kind of goes with our point. I don't know if you want to read that, Anthony, or I can read it.
Well, if you've turned to it, I'm not turned to it.
And it says, "But to the wrong, Elohim said, 'What right have we to receive my laws or take my covenant in your mouth?'" So it's actually a blessing to have his laws.
That is very interesting because even like the sojourner, right, the stranger, um, they can become part of Israel, and there are prophecies written in the millennium reign that the Gentiles they they sort of get I don't know how it would work. I think it's written in Ezekiel, uh, but it talks about that they can choose which tribe to belong to. But my point is that yeah, we ourselves we make that decision to have uh, the law written in our hearts and in our minds, and for us to speak the law of Elohim out and to practice it. But if we don't do it, yeah, if let's say I know I'm talking a lot, but let's say our life is upside down. Like I always give this analogy. It could be like maybe I get in trouble with the police and I do it again and again and again, and eventually everything's gonna start adding up because of my actions. Then eventually, like let's say I have a wife or like someone that I'm supporting, like my parents, I'm gonna start losing everything little by little. And but if I start following the law, in this case will be the law of the land, wherever you're living at, hey, you're not gonna have any problems. Like everything's gonna go well. And it's the same thing with Father's law. Like whenever we see our mistakes and we're like, hey, like why is my life upside down? He can bless us. The other thing too, uh, I have to say it from both sides because even like David wrote about this, that he saw the wicked like being prosperous and having nice things, and maybe nothing bad happened to them. And in a way, he was being afflicted and he was being mocked. Um, but he knew what their end was because Father showed it to him. And in a way, like I'm like Father in this physical realm. If you follow him, he can bless you like so much. And I'm not preaching this like prosperity gospel or whatever people say about. This is what I have observed. But I have also observed that if you go against Father, like Satan blesses certain people too, as the way like there's secret societies and they gather their power and fame and riches from other types of little Elohim. Uh, so that's why it's kind of conflicting because bad people prosper and good people that have faith, follow the Father and the Messiah can prosper too. But we also get afflicted. Same thing with them. The only difference here, and I want to be quiet in like 15 seconds. The only difference here is that even if we, like I said before, we all die this physical death, but we can either choose like to die spiritually or not. And that's gonna depend on who we choose. And of course, and Father can allow us to break those generational curses that have been passed down through our families. Like, like pagan holidays, like certain types of spirits that might be lingering in bloodlines. We can break them once we are aware of it. Or we can embrace them by being rebellious and not following him. Then the bloodline, the curse is gonna keep going down the bloodline and down the bloodline until someone breaks it. But I want to be quiet. I just wanted to say that I don't know why, but
You
I don't know.
good, brother. You good.
And yeah, I think you're correct too. Just real quick, Dave, what was the Psalms passage that you read? Um,
That was Psalms 50:16. I read that out of the ISR. It reads a little different in the King James, but it's still, you could still get it if you understand word.
It's 50,
I can read it.
16, correct?
Yep.
All right. Sorry for the, well, I don't misspelled it. Never mind. Sorry for the intrusion there. But someone had asked in the text, want to say
Yeah,
Uh,
hello to,
I'll read the. I'll go for it.
yeah,
Sorry.
just real quick, want to say hello to Jumper and Daryl Lee in the YouTube chat. Thank y'all for joining us. Good to see y'all. And yeah, I just want to say that real quick, Dave. Yeah, you could continue, brother.
I'll read the King James version, so yeah, both of them. So it says, "But unto the wicked Elohim says, What hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou should take my covenant in thy mouth?" I was the I don't know if I think we have enough time. Um, I highly recommend read Deuteronomy 28, but I was almost going to say we should read Leviticus 26. and see the blessing and the curses.
Well, that's certainly doable.
And maybe it'll inspire people to go read you know, Deuteronomy 28. I can read it if you want.
All right. You said Leviticus, didn't you?
Yep.
All right. I'm there. It's a lot of reading.
All right. Yeah, I think it's important though. And I might even stop at a point and have you read some Revelations, Anthony. If you want to have it keyed up, have Revelation 6 keyed up.
All right.
I know you love Revelations, so it'll be a great talk, I believe. Ye shall make unto you no idols, nor graven image, neither rear up a standing image, neither shall ye set up an image of stone in your land to bow down unto it, for I am Yahweh your Elohim. Ye shall keep my Sabbaths and revere my sanctuary. I am Yahweh. If ye walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. And your threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach into the sowing time, and ye shall eat your bread to the full, and dwell in your land safely. And I will give peace in the land, and ye shall lie down, and none shall make you afraid. I will rid evil beasts out of the land, neither shall the sword go through your land. Ye shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. 5 of them of you shall chase, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. For I will have respect unto you, and make my you fruitful, and multiply you, and establish my covenant with you. And ye shall eat old store, and bring forth the old because of the new. And I will set my tabernacle amongst you. My soul shall not abhor you. And I will walk amongst you, and will be your Elohim, and ye shall be my people. I am Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, that ye shall not be their bondmen. I have broken the bands of your yoke, and made you go upright. But if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, and if ye shall despise my statutes, or if your soul abhors my judgments, so that ye will not do all my commandments, but that ye break my covenant, I also will do this unto you, and will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and burning angu, or angu, that that shall consume the eyes, and cause sorrow of the heart. And ye shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursue you. And if ye will not yet for all this hearken unto me, then I will punish you. Now remember this, 7 times more for your sins. I will break the pride of your power, and I will make your heaven as iron, and your earth as brass, and your strength shall be sent in vain, and your land shall not yield her increase, neither shall the trees of the land yield their fruit. If ye will walk contrary unto me, and I will not hearken unto me, I will bring again 7 times more plagues upon you according to your sins. I will also send wild beasts amongst you, which shall rob you of your children and destroy your cattle and make you few in number, and your highways shall be desolate. And if ye will not reform to me by these things, but will walk contrary unto me, then I will also walk contrary unto you, and will punish you yet 7 times, again, 7 times for your sins. And I will bring a sword upon you that shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. And when ye are gathered together within the cities, I will send the pestilence amongst you, and shall deliver into the hand of the enemies. And when I have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver you your bread again by weight, and ye shall eat and not be satisfied. And if you will not hearken for all this unto me, but walk contrary unto me, then I will walk contrary unto you in fury, and I will chastise you 7 times for your sins. And ye shall eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters, and shall ye eat. So I was going to say, I'll stop right here and I'll come back and read, but why don't you read Revelation 6 real fast, and then we'll do a little comparison, and then I will finish this. Anthony, what do you think? I know
All
this is
right.
kind of breaking up the reading, but
All
there's a
right.
reason behind it. Why?
That's okay. You want me to read the whole chapter?
Yep.
All right. Sounds good. It says, Now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures saying with a voice like thunder, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a white horse, and he and he who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, Come and see. And another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and that people should kill one another, and there was given to him a great sword. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures, saying, A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and the wine. When he opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature, saying, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and the name of him who sat on it was Death, and Hades followed with him. And power was given to them over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword, with hunger, with death, and by the beasts of the earth. When he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of Yah
and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Yahweh, holy and true, until you judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth? And a white robe was given to each of them, and it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer, until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren, who would be killed as they were, was completed. I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth, as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. And the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave, and every free man, hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand? Amen. Now, there's a lot I could say about this, but you might want to go first. You're muted in case you weren't aware.
Oh, you go first, and then I'll go because I know my point pretty good.
Mine will take the rest of the night, brother. I just real quick, I do want to point out that there are 7 seals. We only read 6.
Yes,
Yeah, I'll just point
I
that
believe
out
the last one is opened in the beginning of 7
in the beginning of 8.
of Revelation. Was it the beginning of 8? Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole chapter in between the 6th and the 7th seal, which I think should be at least peculiar enough for people to at least look into. But I will cover a lot of this at a later time. It'll take a while though.
Yeah, well, I guess my point, and then you can fill in whatever you want, is that a lot of this is lining up as I was reading it. Like as you see, in 20 in 26:26, it talks about that women will bake bread and you won't be satisfied. The sword is going to come, through you, and then it talks about, I kept emphasizing sevens. So there's four sevens. He basically says that he's going to bring pestilence. He's going to bring the sword. He's going to bring all the, and there's, I'm going to do it 7 times onto you. You know what I mean? So you got 7 seals, 7, 7 bowls, 7 trumpets. So my thing is, okay, so normal Christianity is saying that, that the normal curses of the law is done away with. Well, then why is it that Revelations has so much curses going on through the earth if the curses have been done away with? When you read Leviticus 28 and 20 and in Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy 28, that's the reason why we have the prophets and why we have Revelations, is because of these curses and these promises that the Most High says, if you do what I tell you to do, I'm going to bless you. But if you guys don't, then I'm going to bring all this dread upon the earth. So I believe that the curse that we read, like I said in Galatians, is really talking about the fact that we can be forgiven once we come and accept Yeshua as our Messiah and start following the Bible, but also the curses from the beginning of of Genesis.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a really good point that you made. Um, Yah's wrath doesn't have to come in our time, but they're trying everything they can to make that happen, it seems. But Yah won't be provoked. But um, like the Book of Lamentations, I think is a really good one to read, just to read through, because it says it over and over. All right, well, if you break my commandments, this will happen to your nations, this will happen to your lands. But if you turn from that and start back keeping his commandments, then he'll heal the land. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, brother. I was through.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say, if you go, as you read, like I have a ton of notes in here in the prophets, where all this stuff is being talked about. Um, like Joel 1 and Daniel, 9:11, and of course Revelation 6 and Ezekiel 34, Habakkuk, Zechariah or not Zechariah, the other's not Zechariah, but the other Z one,
Zephaniah.
Zephaniah. Yeah, it's like, man, all these. And most of churchianity, they'll read the first parts of the blessings and they'll write those on their doorposts and they'll put them up everywhere, but they won't ever read the parts of the curses. And we already proved that the law is for everybody. That was one of the first episodes, even the stranger. So the adversary has made everyone think that these and that they could do whatever they want and be lawless and they're fine. But that's a reason why, like I said, the prophets and all that stuff is because people are defying the Most High. They're thumbing their nose at him on a daily basis. And like I said, it's not saying you can't be forgiven and you can't go through Yeshua's sacrifice, because you can, as long as you don't, like you talked about earlier, blaspheming the Holy Spirit, or come to the realization that, like what we're doing, and then decide to walk away from it and say that I don't need to do Sabbath and I can eat what I want and I can do what I want to do, then I think you're gonna have a severe problem. And I'm not saying like not messing up, because we're not all perfect, and sometimes we mess up, and then we get to go through that sacrificial system, just like they did in back in the day, you know. I don't know if you have any more thoughts on that, Anthony, or not.
Well,
I made you read
not
Revelation, so you should put your pots in.
well. Well, just real quick, want to welcome Daryl Lee. Welcome, and
Thank you. Shalom.
uh, Dave. We may get a little off topic talking about Revelation now, if you let me go with this. Um,
It's fine, brother. That's the part of this whole thing. It's not when the Ruach comes in and tries to do it, what I mean? We should just go with it.
all right, Daryl, how you feeling, man? We probably
I'm feeling
fixing
all
a
right.
debate.
I just got my pump off here, so that's pretty good. Um,
All right.
yeah, I was wanting to address that bit about the bow. A lot of people have said, well, it's just a bow. There's no arrows and stuff, But if we look up the word toxon, it's related to the bow, and it's where we get our word toxic from. And I think that represents a bow with poisonous arrows. I know that some people have been talking about Trump and how he got apparently shot and it was like miraculously healed and that they're wondering about, well, that could he be part of the beast and stuff like that. And I'm wondering also, could like these four horsemen be part of the beast? Um, like Trump was given a crown over there in Israel and a coin, which would be like, with his head on it, his face, would be like a diadem kind of thing, possibly. But then he goes out to conquer. Um, it's kind of interesting, about all the sevens and everything. Um, I don't know. I'm just trying to, look at it from all different angles and everything.
Well, I do want to point out one thing about Revelation 6:2 is the word he, and even like the one, it's not capitalized. Now, I'm not saying that that means anything, but I know a lot of people think that this is the Messiah returning, and I don't really find that to be. But yeah, I'm not against what you're saying there, Daryl, about the poisonous arrows. But when it comes to the arrows, the seal, I call it a great seal, right, of America, the eagle, it's got a olive branch in one hand and the arrows in the other. Well, it's looking, or it's always looking in the direction of the olive branch. But in Trump's inauguration, the eagle's looking at the arrows. That means the nation's at war.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that. But yeah, as far as like America being part of the beast, and part of the seven heads, like where we read up where it goes, then I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having seven heads, 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the names of blasphemy. Um, I mean, they're just like Trump is so boastful about all this stuff, that like nobody can do it like he can. He's like, I mean, he's pushing the unification of the church and state, giving power back to like when the papacy had it a long time ago and they were killing people for keeping the Sabbath.
Oh, he appointed
I thought
a female head pastor of all that church organization at EST. He like
right.
made a government organization called the church or something like that. I don't know just what it's called. I just heard about this today. But he appointed a female pastor, and I don't know his name. Her name.
Paula, I think it is.
Yeah, something
I could
like
be
that.
mistaken. It could be
Could that
Paula
not
White, I think.
could that not be the harlot of Babylon?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, possibly. Um, I still think it could be the papacy, but I think it's a unification of the whole thing. And but yeah, no, that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that though, being how it's a female being put up on. Wow, oh, you got me thinking now.
Hmm. Well, give me just a moment. No.
Well, if we go back down to on Revelations 13, if we go to 7, it says, "And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. Power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations." Um, yeah, so who are the saints? The saints are the ones keeping the Torah, keeping the Sabbath, keeping the law. But they
Right,
want to do the Sunday worship and all that, you know.
right. Well, the one that got me the most was Revelation 13:3, and the NIV states it better than all the other translations I've read, and it was it says that the beast will seem to get a mortal head wound or something along those lines. I'm not looking directly at it, but most translations you use the phrase as if, but
As it were, King James, yeah. But that could be like as if or as it were. It doesn't necessarily mean it was a deadly wound, but it could be just appeared to be a deadly wound. You know, they said like with less than an inch, he would have been dead if he would have got hit. You know, wouldn't have moved his head at the right time or the wind or whatever.
there wasn't even a scratch. Nowhere. Not a scratch. Where did all that blood come from if there's not even a paper cut?
And you know, if it was like a psyop that they were trying to make it look like he got shot, they would make a wound. So everybody go, oh, there's where he got shot. But there's nothing. So people are like, what? It's gone. You know? So I mean we've seen it happen, you know, but yeah, you got a point there.
It says I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world marveled and followed the beast. Hmm.
And there's another thing too about like the four horsemen, like over like different provinces, you know, like Persia, you know, the Prince of Persia, you know, some people say like that's an angel over that province. You know, well, like there could be angels over, you know, our province too, you know, like the District of Columbia or, you know, the United States or something. We could have our own certain angels set for this, you know, that um some good, some bad, or I don't know. But the beast could be made up of more than one nation that comes together, you know, for this, you know, the 10 crowns, the 7 heads, the
Well, see,
yeah, I
I
mean,
would say, in my opinion, I think that's like the beasts plural. But out of all of those, one will rise to the top. I think there will be one world ruler, just like Nimrod
right.
was, you know. Um, and yeah, the whole world is going to follow him. Now, there was let's see, where was we at here? I guess and I know probably everybody in this chat heard this multiple times, but when we look at Revelation 6:17, and Daryl, I hope I'm not like intruding on what you brought up a while ago
Oh
about the
no,
boat.
no.
It says, "For the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand?" And when we look at this great day of his wrath, whose wrath? I mean, is that the wrath of the Lamb? Is that the wrath of the Father? Is that the wrath of the beast? The dragon? And I mentioned earlier there's a whole chapter in between the sixth seal and the seventh seal. And it's chapter 7. So it says, after these things I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or on any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Elohim. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea, saying, do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Elohim on their foreheads. And then we see that the 144,000 begin to be sealed. Now, keeping in mind these 4 angels here that are standing on the 4 corners of the earth, they're there to harm the earth, the sea, and the trees. Now, we don't see anything else about that until Revelation 8, at the opening of the 7th seal. In verse 6, it says, so the 7 angels who had prepared the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. Who had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. And the first angel sounded, and hail and fire followed, mingled with blood, and they were thrown to the earth, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. So the very first trumpet sounds, we immediately see harm being done to the earth via the grass and the trees are burned up and all that, right? Well, in my opinion, I think that the 144,000 will get sealed. Then the 7th trumpet opens. When the 7th trumpet opens, that's when Revelation 12:13 begins. I think that the 144,000 are this woman. It says, now when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time. It's very important. From the presence of the serpent. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon had spewed out of its mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went this is very important, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, who keep the commandments of Yah, and have the testimony of the Messiah. Now, it is my belief that is taking place the same time that Revelation 13 is taking place. That's when the beast
I think.
comes on the scene and all that. Go ahead, brother.
Well, I was just agreeing with you. I think there's a lot of overlapping there. There's a lot of things happening at the same time.
Right. Now, Jumper says, and you make a really good point. It says, I understand it as the wrath of the Almighty being trampled out. I think that means by Yeshua. And I disagree with that last part. If that is what you're trying to say, that it's trampled out by Yeshua, because I don't see the wrath of the Messiah happening until Revelation 19 or 20, however we want to look at that. That's after the wrath
wrath of the Most High. And I think you're right. Revelation 6:17 is referring to the Most High, because he says he'll put all of his enemies at his footstool. He's going to do that first. He says to sit at his right hand until that happens. So when it comes to this first trumpet, a good friend of mine pointed this out to me a few years ago. Revelation 16, verse 1 and 2. It says, Then I heard a loud voice from the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go and pour out the bowls of the wrath of Yah on the earth. So the first went and poured out his vial or bowl upon the earth, and a foul and loathsome sore came upon the men who had the mark of the beast, and those who worshipped his image. See, in my opinion, when the trumpet sounds, it's the announcement. And when the vial is poured out is the completion. And each one of these 7 trumpets and the corresponding vials are the announcement and completion of that particular plague of the Most High. Now, in the first one, it doesn't really get noticed very well.
Oh, y'all still had YouTube going?
Well,
Okay, mine's going again.
it is going again. Good deal.
Well, I don't know. I think it is. Yeah. No, it's like got somebody else on there. What's your screen right now?
It's just a Discord screen.
Yeah, no, it jumped to a different. Okay, my whole thing jumped to a different page. That's what happened. Or a different. See if I can find you again here.
Well, I apologize for that. My internet shut down. I had to figure out how to get it back connected, which it was lagging anyway.
I was just saying. Yeah, I was just saying. I think YouTube, you didn't like what you were saying.
Probably not.
Well, April's wondering if you're back yet. Everybody else is saying, "Are we back?" And
well,
can you hear me now? No, sir. We got crickets. You might have to close and restart. Jumper says.
Yeah, I can't see the chat, but if the chat's still going and if the stream's still going, I guess it's back connected. But the chat didn't seem to reconnect.
Yeah,
You didn't drop. You didn't drop off of YouTube. You're still streaming on YouTube right now.
Cool.
Okay.
Do you think this can relate to the changing of times and law prophecy mentioned in Daniel? I'm always curious about how that prophecy is going to come to pass.
Hey, Anthony. Pardon me. April's wondering if she could get a link there to Discord.
Yeah. And
Hey,
I was able to get the chat. Go ahead.
The audio's not coming across anymore though, but you're still streaming. But there's no audio.
Oh yeah,
April
says,
there is audio.
Oh
it's
yes,
my
but we
Bluetooth.
can't hear you. Oh wait, she says now we can.
No, yeah, you're good. I'm sorry. My Bluetooth connected to this phone. Everything's still good on YouTube, man. Keep going.
Cool.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Damn, Chris just got knocked out too.
Yeah, Chris just jumped in and let us know that. Appreciate that, Chris. Thank you for letting us know. What was you gonna say there, Lon?
Oh, he left. He ain't coming back. No, I was gonna say what's up.
Oh.
And Oscar too. I seen Oscar. I heard him talking earlier. I was busy. I couldn't talk. What's up, man? How's everybody doing?
Pretty good. Good
Hey,
to see you,
brother. How
Lion.
you doing?
Doing well.
Busy. World's getting crazy, bro. The UAPs,
Yeah.
the UFOs, dude. It seems like Revelation's right around the corner, dude. Honestly, I don't know, dude.
I don't know if I'd worry about those too much.
Oh, I'm not worried one bit, dude. I ain't worried. I know I'm protected. I'm just saying that the world, it's like the believers should be in shalom, right, in peace. But the world is going to get chaotic, right? It's our job to be at peace, even when the world is chaotic.
Yeah, we got a light to shine.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
And the
not
darker it
like
gets, the
I was
brighter
watching
we
Fox,
get.
dude. I was watching Fox News, dude, and they had a guy on there who's a military intelligence saying how he has the power to summon UAPs, dude. And they're like, the guy was into the main Fox News host, dude. He's mad popular. I don't watch Fox News, so I don't know his name. I forget his name. He was asking, well,
UAP.
he's like, how do you summon them? And he's like, I just pray. He's like, I just pray to them and they show up. And he's got footage of them showing up. The military's like bewildered at this guy's ability to summon these things.
Are you talking like demons or what? Was UAP?
No, they're UAPs, bro. But we don't know what they are. They're angelic hosts, obviously. Whether good or evil, that's yet to be determined. But I'm pretty sure they're evil.
Right.
Are you going to chime in, David? Because I was going to mention, like,
dude. So
talk to someone that has the same.
Yeah, dude. Dude, the same storyline. Like, I worked at a place. This is before I crossed over, so I was a pot farmer, and I was at this pot farm, and I was helping set up 3 acres of marijuana. And my friend was like, "Dude, this guy has this thing where all we got to do is pray to him, and they show up, and then we meditate, and they'll do what we want them to do." And then I start talking to this guy, and he's like, I go out at 3 a.m. and I meet with them at the crossroads, and they're reptilians. And I told my buddy, and this is before I came to this realization, but I knew about things not to mess with. And I told my buddy, I was like, those are demons, and do not play around with those. Like, you're going to invite something into your house that you don't even want to mess with. But the same story, Lion, the same story.
Yeah, so I've heard Dr. Greer, right, talk about this stuff. But, dude, for me to actually see it on national television, on Fox News, a guy with credentials, like, highly respected in the military, like, dude, I'm blown away. Like, this is disclosure, dude. It's great. It's happening, but we're, like, in denial. Like, we're just like, this can't be real. Like, this can't. Dude, it's happening. Disclosure is already happening, bro, right now in 2025, 2024. Like, there's so many interviews now between Ryan Graves and what's that dude's name? Luis Elizondo. All the whistleblowers that are coming out, like legit military intelligence. You worked for the Pentagon, ATIP. There's a project called ATIP. Like, they talk about, like, there was a guy in Ryan, for example, Sean Ryan podcast last week. Military intelligence. I forget his name. Old guy. Also had the same testimony as Phil Snyder. You can't pronounce Jesus in underground bases, bro. Like, it's like you can't say his name for whatever reason. It's because there's, like, these entities, dude, that they're in communication with, bro. And they don't like that name being said.
Of course they don't.
Like it's like stuff that, like, David Icke was talking about 20 years ago, dude. Alex Jones might have mentioned it here or there, not as much as David Icke, like the reptilians, right? Like, stuff that even I at the time considered that shit crazy. And I'm sorry, I'm not. Hopefully, shit's on a curse, but I mean, some people it is, some people it ain't. But I'm saying, yeah, dude, like, it's legit, dude. It's legit. I'm sorry, Anthony. I don't know if I cut straight there for you or not, but sorry.
Hell no. I've been a bit of an agreement with you, because it's actually sort of referring to exactly what I was going over with this Revelation 13 stuff, because I'm of the opinion that Revelation 13 is going to be taking place at the exact time, at the same time, times, and half a time as the two prophets are prophesying. So a lot of people say, well, there's a 7-year tribulation, and I don't see that. I see a time, times, and half a time, or 42 months, or 1,260 days. Because if this is correct, that the trumpet is the announcement and the vial is the completion, well, we can look at Revelation 9, verse 4. It says, they were commanded not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green thing, or any tree, but only those men who do not have the seal of Yahweh on their foreheads. Well, there's only 144,000 that are alive that are going to receive that mark on their foreheads. And another thing I wanted to point out is in 1 Corinthians 15, verse 51 and 52. It says, behold, I tell you a mystery. Now he's telling us the mystery. It's not that it is a mystery. He's telling us the mystery. It says, behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. At the last trumpet.
Yeah, man. So for sure. But yeah, so I actually was thinking about that earlier. I was actually praying against the UAPs, against the UFOs, and because I know it's a big deception right now, and I was praying against the locusts from the bottomless pit, because at some point they're gonna get released. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully
Hopefully
I'm not
we
around
won't
when
be
that
anywhere
happens.
near. Exactly. Exactly.
I'll be
Hopefully we'll
around when
be in
that
the
happens.
wilderness. That's what I think that it means when it says to flee to the hills. When you see the abomination of desolation take place, it says to flee, get out of Dodge, and I think that that's probably why. And that,
Reptilians, bro, they're out there.
yeah, I think the reptilians exist, but I kind of think that they're a specific bloodline. But someone would I think Jumper was asking in the chat earlier. I got to scroll up a little bit to see. Was mentioned in 1915. Well, actually, I think when the seventh trumpet is blown, okay, before the vial is poured out in its completion, that's when the resurrection takes place. That's also when the Messiah returns. But the changing in a moment and a twinkling of an eye, that to me means that we'll be receiving our glorified bodies. And I think
Sure.
that takes place at Revelation 19, starting in about verse 7. Um, actually, the whole chapter.
You know,
But when it comes to that resurrection, I wanted to go to Daniel chapter 12. Doesn't everybody, right? And I'm sure
what do
everybody
we do
knows it,
without the
but
book of Daniel?
no doubt. But I'll just read the two verses here, and I know everybody's read them probably hundreds of times, but it says, at that time Michael shall stand up, the great prince who stands watch over the sons of your people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation. And I believe that that is the wrath of God and the wrath of the dragon being poured out on the earth at that same time. It says, even to that time. And at that time, your people shall be delivered. Well, the 144,000 will be delivered into the wilderness. It says, everyone who is found written in the book. And when we looked at Revelation 12:17, we see that the remnant of the woman's offspring are those who keep the commandments of Yah and have the testimony of the Messiah. So if they survive, then I think this is when 1 Corinthians 15, 51 and 52 takes place. Here in verse 2, it says, "And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to everlasting contempt." Well, I'll read the next verse. "Those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever." See, it's not going to be only the Messiah ruling in chapter 20 of Revelation. There'll be many people ruling and reigning with him, and I do believe that the 144,000 will be as well. But I think that there's also going to be people that survive this, that also keep the commandments of Yah and have the testimony of the Messiah. And if they survive to the end of it, then they'll be caught up in the clouds. And
Anthony,
yes, ma'am.
can you jump to 1 Corinthians 15? For sure 52, but maybe a couple above and below, please.
Yeah, let me get back to it.
Yo, oh, never mind. I'll wait.
1 Corinthians 15. Which ones?
At least 52, but wherever you want to go with it on that.
Yeah, I just read those. It says, "Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed."
Doesn't it read trump and not trumpet there in Corinthians?
It depends on your translation. Mine says trumpet.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure. I know the KJV said trump, so that's why I said that. And I didn't know you just read that one.
Yeah. But it'll be at the last trumpet. And see, I think that the trumpet sounds. Revelation 19 takes place at the marriage supper, and then I guess within
You,
30 minutes or an hour or
you know,
something like that is when the seventh vial is poured out upon the earth.
they
Go
say
ahead,
that Barron Trump is the last Trump or the last president. There's a book, and I'm not saying I believe this, but this has been circulating, and I heard about it years ago. But now it's like people are actually considering the book as prophetic, because it talks about like Elon, talks about Trump. This was written in like the 1800s, dude. It literally says Barron Trump, dude, will be the last president.
Well, I think he's
So maybe
probably the beast. So.
Maybe Barron Trump will signify the beginning of the end, like, you know, at the last Trump. I don't. But people are saying that. That's what I heard in the. I don't believe that, but is that why you brought it up, sister? Is that what you're talking about? The last Trump?
Well, I do think it kind of ties into it all a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, I figured, but it's not good. I just
Lion.
hey.
No, I thought a long time ago that Trump was going to be the last president the United States ever has.
What's up, Chris?
In the books, the Baron of Trump or whatever, it says that Barron's dad will be the last president, not that he will be the last president. It says his dad will be the last president in the book.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah, I misunderstood that.
I wanted to read a little something out of 2 Corinthians 5. What we were talking about that we'll be changed in the twinkling of an eye. It starts as, for we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of Yah, an house not made with hands, eternal in heaven. For in this we groan, earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house, which is from heaven. So if so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked. For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life.
I'm gonna have to get going, Anthony. I have the spot saved. I think next week we'll probably be finished with my letter, and then maybe we could just go over it. You know what I mean? But it was great conversation, and I think it all actually lined up with what we talked about in the letter with the curses and all that stuff. I really appreciate all you guys.
Later, man. God bless.
Hey, thank you very much for sharing what you have, brother, and many blessings to you.
Yo,
Yep.
Chris, I was gonna ask you, remember you told me you got banned from Ether Cause? Like there was like there's a whole bunch of people that got banned a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it's been like a month.
Who were you asking?
Oh, he left.
Yeah, he's not.
Man. Every time I try to catch him, dude, he's gone.
Yeah, he's not gonna stay long. He's not feeling well, and his children aren't. He probably got his hands full.
Yeah, he's in and out. No, I just wanted to let him know that, dude. I also got banned. A bunch of other Christians got banned, so that he doesn't take it. Oh, he's back. Yeah, Chris, I was gonna let you know that I got banned from Ether Cause too, like the same week. I don't know if I ever told you that. And a bunch of other. Yeah, I got banned. Like so you got banned. Like I got banned like a day after, or 2 days after you, bro. So don't feel bad, dude. And also a bunch of other Christians got banned too. It was like a bunch of Christians got banned for whatever reason, and some other Christians got left behind. It's kind of weird talking about the rapture and all this, dude. It's like, dude, we got banned, but they got left behind. But yeah, dude, it's been a mess.
Which server was this?
Ether Cosmology. A lot of people complain too, like, what's going on? Yeah, it's really, I don't know why I got banned, but I think it's because I was very vocal about my faith. Those that are very vocal. It's funny now that we've been banned, dude. It's like they had to like stop banning Christians because it became very obvious and evident, and like people were speaking up. So they're like now it's funny because since we've got banned, dude, I've been hearing people that have been trying to get me back in, but I don't. I'm like whatever. That they're having like constant Bible studies now, like all the time, like, and it's so funny, dude. It backfired on them. You? Apparently, it was Alan's decision to ban me because Wissett tried getting me back. Galatrax tried getting me back. Shane actually like messaged me personally. He's like, dude, like I don't know what's going on. Like, but yeah, like they just don't. I don't know. Alan personally has something against me, so I was like, whatever. But yeah, dude. Well, so just don't feel bad about that.
Yeah, well, he praises that witch over there, so I mean, maybe
yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is, dude. And then another thing is, dude, that I think it's the fact too is that we're more like Hebraic. We keep Torah, and and he has this animosity to Jewish, like the Jews and stuff. Like he hates Jews, and they kind of, it's funny because like they talk shit about Jews, but at the same time,
language, man, language.
Okay.
Thank you.
They talk crap about, and I think that's why, dude. I think that's why they don't like us. Because I don't understand why the other Christians are still there. Some other Christians are still there.
Well,
But yeah,
just to kind of wrap up sort of the conclusion of my idea of Revelation, what's taking place in Revelation 20 in the millennial reign is the Messiah judging the nations to see who goes into the kingdom and who doesn't. But the kingdom is going to be with him. It's coming with him. And yeah, I think that's going to be the judgment. And when Daniel talks about those will rise to everlasting life, they that will be their judgment. They won't lose that, but they will already be in the kingdom. But I think that there's others who are going to be judged at that time. But anyway, that's the kind of conclusion of it.
I think that well, kind of like what Chris said here. They said I believe this is because the veil will be lifted. I think the kingdom's around us. We're just not pressing in. That it is available.
I'm definitely not.
there's a
saying that it
physical
isn't
mountain
available.
that's supposed to come down.
What's that, Lion? I was talking with you. I'm sorry.
Now that I know that Jesus spoke that the kingdom was like there at that time, right? But at the same time, like the Gnostics act like it's all figurative, like there's, it's the kingdom's within you, this and that. But yes, like there's esoteric understanding of the scriptures, but there's also like just it's literal too. Like there's a physical kingdom with a physical temple supposed to come down. You know what I'm saying? And it's on earth somewhere, but it is veiled from us. But it's supposed to be like towards the north, and it's gonna get transplanted where Jerusalem is right now. It's supposed to get moved over to where Jerusalem is right now, from the center of the earth.
Would you
Where
say
it's
that it would
currently
be
at.
afar off? Sorry.
Huh?
Would you say that it would be afar off?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's impossible. It's not. They're not. Not only is there a dimensional rift, like when you try to get there, apparently like it's inaccessible, dude. Like it's towards the North Pole, man. It's supposed to be a whirlwind. In some of the Ethiopian and Enochian literature, it says that there's a whirlwind at the center of the earth, bro. You try to fly over there, you might get sucked in, dude. It's a death wish.
It's also
Ryan,
mentioned in scripture that the kingdom is within us. I think it's like there's a lot more to it than, just like saying it's here or there. Yeah, I think it's like possibly everywhere in this big veil. And sometimes we can get glimpses.
I don't think you're getting no more.
Exactly.
Go ahead,
Lion,
Chris.
What Daryl just said. Exactly.
Jimpsy from 24/7.
Yes.
Have you ever seen the picture that he uses a lot?
Probably. I've probably seen it. Why?
Because he thinks that that's where the Father is, and it's above the North Pole, supposedly.
Yeah. That's where Enoch described it to be. That's where Isaiah described it to be. That's where King David describes it to be. So I have three testimonies from three patriarchs, all claiming that the actual Mount Zion, the heavenly Mount Zion, is towards the north. In Psalm 48:2, it says that it's beautiful in its elevation, lofty in elevation, the city of the great King, right? Mount Zion, right? Now he's saying that while in Jerusalem, also known as Mount Zion. So there's like a discrepancy. Oh, the Bible is contradicting itself. No, it's not contradicting itself. It's a lack of wisdom. The Jerusalem that's there today is figuratively known as Mount Zion because that's where Mount Zion is going to be in the future, proleptically. But the actual heavenly Mount Zion is located towards the north geographically, in the North Pole.
Well, I'd like
to.
And
when real quick, to respond to Daryl, when Jesus says that the kingdom is within you, it's esoteric, it's parabolic, because what he's saying there is that two things. One is that the temple of God is within us, right? Like we are the temple of God, right? Figuratively speaking. That doesn't mean that there's not a temple that he actually resides in. It's the Gnostics act like there's no temple at all, and that all there is the temple within you, right? And that the heaven's within you and all that. And they break it down and reduce it to nothing more than figurative speech, when that's not the case. And then the second thing is, it's like when a coach tells you, if there's a trophy to be won, if there's a crown to be had, right? Crown of righteousness, the crown of immortality. That crown is within you, as in it's up to you to work out your salvation with fear and trembling, so that you receive that crown. It's within you to receive that crown.
I get that. That's cool. I like
All
that.
right. Cool. That's all. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to address what Daryl said about getting a glimpse, that we could get a glimpse. I think that was hitting the nail on the head. These all died in faith, not having received the promise, but having seen them afar off, were assured of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. I think that should say in the earth, but yeah.
Well, thank you for that, Anthony. That helped me out a lot right there. Thank you.
That's Hebrews 11:13. And it is referring to Abel and Enoch and Noah and Abraham and them, right? But yeah, they saw the kingdom, but they haven't received that kingdom. They haven't received that promise yet.
Yeah, that even refers to John the Baptist, where, like, when Yeshua was saying, but oh gosh, how even I'm sorry, I have to find that real quick. How when he was talking about how John was Elijah that has come, if we could accept that, but greater is he that is the least in the kingdom, or even the least in the kingdom is greater. And I'm messing it up. I'm sorry. Don't quote me on none of that. But yeah, that was what I was trying to find there.
That's not the
So yeah,
Matthew
even
5
if
passage
that's
you're talking about, is it?
Matthew 5, thank you.
I'm asking. I'm not certain about it.
Oh, let me just turn here to it.
I think it's Matthew 5:19.
Enoch also mentions the tree of life being transplanted, dude, from where it is right now. I imagine the tree of life getting transplanted to where Jerusalem is right now, from the north. And the rivers will flow out of Jerusalem, dude. It's pretty amazing, dude.
I wouldn't know. I can only
I'll try to find the
speculate,
verse.
but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be pretty desolate at first, but restored to greater glory than what we can imagine, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that was part of it, Anthony. I think I was putting two things together there. That's not the one I was thinking of, where Yeshua talks about John being the
John being the
of Jonah, not Jonah. I'm having my brain ain't working right.
I know what you mean, brother. Mine does that a lot.
Oh man, I'm like, dumbfounded. I'm like, how can I even forget Esaias? John, he says it, yeah, and John being the like one of the last prophets, the name of one of
Oh, you're talking
that's
about
supposed to come.
Revelation 10:11, maybe? That he's got to prophesy
No,
again?
no, I get what you're saying, but no, where he says oh, Esaias, he's, um, the prophet that ran from Jezebel and
Oh,
got fed by the
Elijah.
crows.
Elijah.
Elijah, thank you. My brain ain't working right. I'm all messed up right now. So yeah, Yeshua talks about John being the prophet of Elijah, if we could accept this. But in that same area, he talks about, I think, I mean, my brain ain't working right, but that
But Elijah's already
even the
come?
least in the
Oh, go ahead.
but Yeshua said that even the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John, because at that time the kingdom of heaven or the kingdom wasn't available completely. So John couldn't like press into the kingdom at that time until Yeshua made it available with his blood.
Well, it's it's still not physically available. And like I was saying about Hebrews 11 there, you know, they saw it afar off. They saw the promise, but they haven't received it.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think John saw it too, far off.
Personally, I think John is the other prophet.
I think you might be right. That's a very good possibility because yeah, Yeshua said that he was.
Yo, so the verse I'm talking about is in Enoch 25. Depending on what translation, it might be Enoch 26. But it does talk about the tree of life being at the center of our world, and also how the tree of life in the last days, after judgment, it's going to be transplanted from that area toward Jerusalem. It doesn't say Jerusalem, but it says it's going to get transplanted. And it doesn't tell you where, but if you read the rest of the Bible, we know where. Let's see if I can find it.
For all intents and purposes there, Lion, I think you're correct. I think that's correct. I'm not looking at the book of Enoch, but I think you're kind of onto something there.
It's fascinating, dude. I mean, I'm trying to find it. I can't. It's in this one. But it starts off from there. I proceeded to the middle of the earth, and I beheld a happy and fertile spot, which contained branches continually sprouting from the trees which were planted in it. There I saw a holy mountain, and underneath it, water on the eastern side, which flowed towards the south. I also saw on the east another mountain as high as that one, and between them there were deep but not wide valleys. So he's describing literally like the center of the earth, bro, like where Mount Zion is and what's around it. There's like 7 mountains, dude. One of the mountains that's at the center he describes as having a throne on it, a throne white like alabaster, but and he says it's going to be for a future time. So nobody's sitting on it, dude. It's like a throne. It's a seat that's not being occupied. It's a special seat reserved for Judgment Day, dude. That either the Father or the Son's gonna sit on that seat, And I believe that is the scene in Revelation where he talks about every knee shall bow. Every knee shall bow at the presence of the Most High and His Son in the Kodashim. When he's sitting on the judgment seat, that's the throne of judgment. It's a separate throne, dude, altogether. That's been reserved since the beginning. It's not being occupied right now. Enoch describes it, and he talks about the valley that's below it being the accursed valley, where all the dead shall be gathered up. All the souls that have ever lived shall be gathered up. And there's a lake of fire right next to it. Dude, he describes it meticulously, but what I'm saying, though, he also describes Mount Zion in the Garden of Eden with the tree of life. Let me see up real quick. It says, anyways, I'm going to mute up. I'm going to try to find it, all right?
All right.
While you're muting up, I just had a thought that we're talking about John being a prophet. Yeshua was talking about John the Baptist, I think, maybe a future tense of John the Revelator when he said that. I'm not sure, but it could be the spirit of Elisha. We have the two witnesses. It could be the law and the prophets. It could be the spirit coming upon all flesh, being poured out. The law and the prophets, the first two commandments, the ones that Yeshua emphasized on, and those that keep them. And then when they rise up and shine bright, then the world comes against them. And it's not just two men, but on the third day that we all rise up that keep the law. I mean, I just a thought. What do y'all think about that?
Well, except for we all rise up and keep the law, I think you're right to an extent, but I think many, or probably most, will rise up and be made to keep the law. You know what I mean? Just like when it talks about it.
Just talking about. Yeah, I was just talking about the two witnesses that, we're looking for two certain individuals.
Oh, right,
or representation of the law and the prophets. Because Yeshua was saying the first two commandments, love Yah with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as well as yourself, And those, he said, hangs all the law and the prophets on that.
Those are commandments,
could be like
though,
the
not prophets.
Well, we're commanded to do those, and the thing is those that are keeping that are the ones that are going to be persecuted.
Yo, it's Enoch in the Arch Charles, Enoch 25 verse 5. Then said Michael, I will show you the holy place where the tree of life is to be transplanted, and will be given to the righteous and the holy. It says righteous and holy. Its fruit shall be for food for the elect. Now you can read more into it, but yeah, bro, that's it.
Yeah, I agree, Daryl. The ones who do keep the commandments and have the Messiah's testimony are the ones going to be persecuted. And I think in this country, I feel like in this country, it'll be the Christians doing the persecuting, are the ones in Christianity.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think that's a strong possibility. I'm not saying that there ain't going to be two actual individual prophets, but I'm kind of getting at there's going to be a spirit of the law and the prophets poured out on all flesh, and those that accept it. And then you were talking about earlier about like in the last trump that's when the resurrection happens, that we all get caught up into the clouds to meet him. And that could be when after all all the saints were martyred or whatever. Um, I don't know. I'm just trying to think about it all there, put
Well, it would
together.
have to be. It would have to be because there's only one more resurrection that's going to take place. So it would have to be after the saints have been martyred. Like it's even after the two prophets are killed and left in the streets for 3.5 days.
Yeah. Jumper just said some say that Elisha and Moses, some say Elisha and Enoch because Elisha and Enoch did not die. But if we look in Hebrews, it says that Enoch did die.
Yeah, they all died.
I
Yep.
think you know that scripture in Enoch, right?
Because think about it. How could Enoch circumvent the gospel message? Like how could he reach immortality, apotheosis, right? All on his own without Messiah dying for us. Like how could he get a head start? A shortcut.
It's not a shortcut.
Yeah.
But like Elijah didn't die. We don't have an account of Elijah's death, but we do have an account of Enoch's death.
Yeah.
Elijah died, dude. Elijah definitely died.
Can you quote that in Hebrews? Read that, Anthony. I forget where the address is.
11:13.
11:13.
I just read it just a moment ago, actually.
Oh, I missed it. Okay.
The only ones that don't die are the ones that Paul, like the verse that you read earlier, that are transformed within the twinkling of an eye. Those are the only ones that don't taste death, or you know what I mean. But everybody else has died, dude. Like Elijah's definitely dead.
Not John. There's no account of
John too.
death.
John. Yeah, but we don't need like a testimony of John's death to know that he died.
All right. Well, there's two prophets.
Well, how's he gonna rise up again and give testimony?
Yeah, because the resurrection's only taking place one more time, and we actually in Malachi 4:5, I believe, we have the name of Elijah. It says, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." So we have
And
that
then
one by
also
name.
John.
Go ahead, Darryl.
Right before the 12 seals, there's John told to he's going to testify again.
Yeah, that's in Revelation 1:9.
Yeah. No, in Revelation 10 and 11, and it says, "And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings."
Right. I wanted to point out Moses' account too. This is Deuteronomy 34, verse 5 through 8. It says, "So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he, capital He, and he buried him in the valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor. But no one knows his grave to this day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were not dim, nor his natural vigor abated. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses ended." So we have an account of Moses' death. Now, when it comes to Enoch's death, I think most people just assume, well, Elijah must have died the same way as Enoch, didn't taste death. Well, we technically don't have an account of his death. He was just taken up in chariots of fire. But it's what he said to Elisha
as he was, right before he was being taken up, is what I think is pretty important. It says in 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 9. It says, "And so it was when they had crossed over, that Elijah said to Elisha, Ask, what may I do for you before I am taken from you, or taken away from you? And Elisha said, Please let a double portion of your spirit be upon me. So he said, You have asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if you see me when I am taken from you, it shall be so for you. But if not, it shall not be so." So Elisha's asking for a double portion of Elijah's spirit. Okay. But nobody actually sees Elijah until the transfiguration. That's when Peter, James, and John and the Messiah are visited by Elijah, Moses, and the Most High. Well, Peter, we have an account of Peter's death. We have an account of James's death. We have an account of the Messiah's death, even though people that want to try
Can you give
to
that address again for Enoch's death? That's in Hebrews. Where did you say?
11:13.
11:13.
Yes, sir.
It's also in the book of Jubilees if you accept the book. It says Enoch died.
Well, there's even a second witness. Even though I don't accept the book of Jubilees as scripture, I think it's got some pretty good opinions or ideas in it, though. Now, when it comes to John's death here, it says in John 21, it says, Then Peter, turning around, verse 20, sorry. Then Peter, turning around, saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following. Well, the disciple whom Jesus loved is John. And I don't think anybody debates that. I don't know of anybody that does. Who also had leaned on his breast at the supper and said, Lord, who is the one who betrays you? Peter, seeing him, said to Jesus, But Lord, what about this man? Jesus said to him, If I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you? You follow me. Then this saying went out amongst the brethren, that this disciple would not die. Yet Jesus did not say to him that he would not die, but, If I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you? Well, remaining could be longevity, but the thing is the two prophets die 3.5 days before they're caught up into heaven, or they're caught up in the clouds, or they're told to come up here, basically. So they do die. But could they remain until then?
Yeah, they could be like, I don't know, like in Abraham's bosom or some other place. To be absent from the body, to be present with Yah, or Yeshua. They could be, in a special place, just waiting.
Or they could be just walking amongst us and haven't been given the order to start prophesying.
Yeah, that's a possibility too. Or their spirit maybe goes from one to another, and from every generation, the spirit rests on certain individuals, just waiting, because nobody knows the day nor the hour.
I don't think so, man. That's like reincarnation, dude.
Well, no, not the person himself. I'm just saying the spirit resting on the person. Like, I mean, we can all have the Holy Spirit resting with us.
You're right, but not the spirit of Elijah. Like, that's
Well,
borderline like
how is it that Elisha
that's
had?
borderline apostasy, dude.
Wait, how is it that Elisha had the spirit of Elisha, or however what spirit we're talking about, and then Yeshua said about John the Baptist, if you can accept it, that
I know.
this is Elijah.
I trust me. I understand. A lot of people use that. Even people that don't read the Bible don't even know. Never read the Bible. They know that verse because they believe in reincarnation, and they use that verse to back up their belief in reincarnation. I'm very familiar with it because
Yeah, I'm
people
not
believe that
saying
John the Baptist is Elijah reincarnated.
Yeah, I'm not saying
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying that
reincarnation
you
of it.
believe that, but it's when it's in the same kind. You're following the same type of current. You know what I mean?
No. I'm not saying that the individual person. I'm saying the spirit.
Trust me, bro. I get it, but however you want to chop it up, dude, however you want to rationalize it, it's still the spirit of Elijah. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you can try to chop it up some other way. It's still what you're implying, dude.
Well, how does it go from Elisha to John?
Listen, I don't understand exactly what's going on there. I forget, somebody recently brought up something, and I forget what he said about it, and it made a lot of sense, and I can't remember it for the life of me right now. I can't remember how he made sense of that, but it had nothing to do with Elijah's spirit being inside of John. Not in the way that the Gnostics try to make it seem.
Yeah, there's one spirit. There's one spirit. That's I mean, yeah, we have a lesser spirit, but eventually we'll be one, like the Echad, or I mean, the one, like how Yeshua prayed that we are one as he was one with the Father and all that. But I'm just saying that I'm trying to make sense of how that Yeshua said that John was Elijah, if you can accept that.
Yeah, because the way that Yeshua spoke, he spoke in ways that would have been inflammatory, antagonistic, like drink of my blood, eat of my flesh, right? Or how can like he said so many things, bro. Who's my brother? Who's my mother? That's not my, you know what I mean? My mother and my brother are those who keep the commandments, right? Like things that he would say that would be like, or there's so many riddles, bro, throughout the Gospels that if you take what he said literally, you're going to be lost. So if you think that part if you think that Elijah's spirit is within John, like literally, dude, you're missing the point. That's not what he's saying.
Well, our soul and our spirit are so closely divine that only the Word can separate the two or decipher them. So we think about our soul, and then we think about our spirit. There's a scripture that says there's but one spirit, of Yah in all things. Don't quote me word for word on that, but I'm not trying to. The spirit is like. I mean, who can nail that down and say what that is? I mean, how Yeshua is talking about
and body, spirit and body.
It's
Yeah, I wasn't meaning to interrupt, but I mean, breaking it down, that's like basically what it is.
Well, I think we have the soul that chooses. To be able to save our souls, we choose spirit. But if we choose the flesh, because flesh does not inherit the kingdom.
Hey, let me give you an example. This is a litmus test, right? Because I came across this verse earlier, and it's like I said, some of the things that Jesus said were inflammatory and antagonistic, and contrary to what you would assume he would say, right? Let me pull this up. Give me a second.
But it was still factual. Everything he said was factual.
No doubt. But if you don't have that guiding light, dude, like I don't know, dude. You walk in it's like a fine line, dude.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Well,
but yeah, I'm not into the reincarnation thing. It's the point of man wants to die. Um, I I know there's a lot of heavy thoughts and scriptures that people back up, you know, um, living again kind of thing. But yeah, I don't really stand with that, you know. I could be wrong, but no, I don't see it that way. I think we all get one chance.
Yeah, as do I. As far as the soul choosing, yeah, I think you're kind of onto something there about the soul should choose the spirit because the spirit's eternal. The body isn't. So your soul should choose the
Found
spirit
it.
because we'll receive a new body.
Ready?
Right. And that's how souls are saved.
Ready?
Right.
It's John 9. It's John 9:39. You guys want it? Somebody want to post that and read it?
John 9 and 39. Okay, I'm almost there.
This is
John
one of
9.
many verses that Jesus said that would seem counterintuitive, not within his character to say stuff like this.
Okay, John 9:39 says, and Yeshua said, for judgment I have come into this world, that they which see not might see, and they that which see might be made blind.
Right? It sounds counterintuitive, right? Because in another place he says, I didn't come to judge the world. Right? And in this one
Not
he says,
seeing.
for our judgment, I come into this world. So that right there seems like he's contradicting himself. He's not contradicting himself. This is his nature to speak in riddles, right? So that the ones that aren't being guided by the guiding light are gonna be confused, bro. And not only
I
that,
could,
he says that those who do not see may see, and those who see may become blind. Why would he ever make people that can see blind? Right?
So they
It seems
wouldn't
like a
see the
paradox,
evil.
right? It's confusing. It's bewildering, but it's not. You just have to figure that you have to reason with yourself and reason with Yah and figure it out. It's like a riddle he left for us to figure out.
Well, it says about the judgment, right? Well, that doesn't take place. That ain't what he came to do. He came to save the world. He's coming back to judge the world. So that's going to be uh, like a millennial reign thing there, probably,
No, no,
because
no, no, no. I get what you're saying, right? But that's not what he's saying here. He's not saying he's coming back in 1,000 years or whatever, right? Second time to
no,
judge. No, no. He's saying right there, for judgment, I came into this world. He's talking like he came into this world, like right now, like in the present moment when he's speaking to the Pharisees. He's not talking about in the future.
but he didn't come to judge.
Right,
He
right,
came to
right. That's what I'm
save.
trying to tell you. He didn't come to, in another verse, he says he didn't come to judge. He came to save the world, save the sinners. Right? So
Yeah.
this, at face value, seems like he's contradicting himself. But he spoke in this way on purpose to confuse the skeptics and the non-believers. Thinking that, oh, look, there's, like right now an academic skeptic will look at this verse and look, there's a contradiction in the gospel. It's not a contradiction. It's a lack of wisdom. That's why I'm pointing out, like, things that if you're going to take literally, you're going to be lost, right? So he came into the world so that those that see may become blind. Wait, what? That's evil, right? Somebody who lacks faith and wisdom would be like, that's evil. Yahweh is a tyrannical God. He's a demiurge. He's causing people that can see to become blind. That's the stuff. These are the type of people that I deal with on a daily in these other servers, bro. And I'm just pointing these verses out to you guys to show you, like, you got to be careful adopting a doctrine, building a doctrine off one verse regarding Elisha and John the Baptist, because the way Jesus spoke was supposed to be almost inflammatory or antagonistic, and might even sound like reincarnation at first. But he's not promoting reincarnation. He's not promoting cannibalism, the drinking of blood, the eating of flesh, human flesh. He's not promoting any of that. But those that lack wisdom are that's how they're gonna receive it. That's how they're gonna receive it. And they're gonna be lost.
Well, I mean, this may be an obscure look at this, but to overcome the flesh, you got to be challenged. So if you could see and then you go into battle to overcome the flesh, and yeah, he could get blind in battle, because there's a reward to overcoming the flesh.
Yeah, it's a constant battle.
Yeah, for sure. But the way I interpret this verse is that the ones that are blind, like innocently blind, he's going to allow them to see the truth, as in see the Torah, the commandments. He's going to open their eyes to the commandments and the Sabbath and all that. And the ones that have the guiding light right now, that can see, can interpret the Torah and read it, they're going to become blind, as if they didn't have the law. That's the way I interpret it, but I could be wrong.
Or they'll be blinded to any kind of evil or any kind of wrongdoings, any kind of sadness or sorrow or something like that. They'll be like, they won't be able to see that.
Love covers a multitude of sin.
And if we love the Messiah, what are we supposed to do?
Love each other, and we don't count the grievances against each other. We may point them out now and then, but we don't count them up and store them. We become blind to them. We remove them, like Yeshua, like Yah says, I'll remove them as far as the east is from the west. He ain't even going to look at them.
John 14:50 says, if you love me, keep my commandments. But I think you're exactly right, Daryl. But with that, y'all, it's getting pretty late. So I'm gonna kind of say goodbye to YouTube. I do want to say for Jumper, yeah, we'd love to have you join in, brother. Love to hear what you have to share. If you
Hey, could
don't
you
have the link,
post?
I'll share it in the link in the chat the next time or whenever you want to join. You might have to let me know because at this time I don't have anybody checking for anybody joining, and hopefully I can get somebody to do that by next week. And I want to thank everybody for showing up and hanging out and sharing y'all's thoughts and opinions and ideas. But what was you gonna say, Daryl, before we go?
Oh, I was just going to ask you to share that link again for Jumper. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. He said he's got to reset his password, and hopefully he'll
Okay.
have time, through the week to get that done. And it should be pretty easy, but yeah, I'll be looking for you, and hopefully we get to chat. But
Right on. That was good, Anthony. Everybody, much love and pleasure, and thank y'all. I need
God
this.
bless, bro.
God bless. Good to
May
see
Yah
you,
shine
Ariel.
his face upon you, Daryl, Anthony, and Chris Jumper.
And you as well, Ariel. Thank you. And Jumper and April. Y'all as well.
April.
yeah, April. I didn't realize April was still there yet. Good to see you there. All right, I'm gonna play the outro, and thank you all for being here. Many blessings.